Do you even like prospecting at all? Like picking up the phone and doing this? It's basically she was okay to give me feedback on this. You don't really like it either, Dean. Like, why would you like this? It doesn't make any sense. Like, why would you put yourself through the gamut of calling people that are rejecting you every single day of the week? My point is I realized that I get up every morning excited about prospecting, not because of the activity itself, but because of influence that I have over people that don't know me, that are willing to meet with me. For all they know, I could be a serial killer, but they actually open up the door.
He was on the plane and then realized he doesn't want to do this. He doesn't want to be a probate. He doesn't want to be a probate king. Yes. That's not his identity. So he just spent all this money just to realize that that's not what he wanted to do. So he was also telling them, if you want to be an 8 deal a year real estate agent, that's fine. You know, if you want to do 50, you want to do 100, that's fine. But the main thing that Leo wanted to really instill in us was specifically that you have to go and try stuff. You know what I mean? And you have to go have a lot of education. And one of the fun facts is how he sold those 4,000 homes, which, number one, just so you guys know, Leo does not like calling. Leo hates rejection. Leo doesn't do any of that stuff. But at the end of the day, guess what Leo was doing? He was going out and doing exactly what he didn't want to do, because he knew that the grass was green on the other side. So what happened was Leo decided, how could he get business and do it without a rejection? It was his fundamental. So he basically created what we call Remind. He created that company, which is data, because he loves data. But he created a company because he found issues in his own business that he needed. So then he hired a programmer and then went and got it. The one thing is that he wanted to instill is, if you're not good at something, go hire that other person, and then you become really good at one or two things. Like that, he harped on that, one or two things, hire somebody else to go do it. I just want to let you know, rejection is real. He didn't want to do it, but the main thing is, for his 4,000 homes and how he was selling personally over 400 transactions, it wasn't a one-off. It wasn't one person, one deal, and you had 400 people to equal 400 deals. He was smart. He figured out, how could I work with developers? How could I work with hedge fund people? How could I work with foreclosure banks? How could I work with, the REO worlds, preservation companies? So he went and solicited business where he can get one person, but that one person extracted more than one transaction at a time. So one person might have gave him 20, another person might have gave him whatever, 100.
He had something that he really put his heart and soul into, figured it out, and then made it happen. And that's who I think, Rich, by the way, was his connection for that call that Glenn had for his cold call to Leo. I think it was his friend Taylor at Skyslope, because we already adopted Skyslope years ago. So that's who I think it was. But that's just gossip stuff, whatever. But the point is, guys, he coined his own term on our podcast. I never heard it any other podcast. Rich, right? That he is considered, Leo, the wartime leader. That's what he said for himself. He's a wartime leader. Now, why would he say that? You guys realize, all you guys, for the most part, besides Justine, our senior agent here, and then Danny for over a year now, you guys have started your careers in the worst transactional count ever in the last 30 years of real estate sales. Rich and I, we built our businesses on prospecting, right? That's what you guys, a lot of us are attracted to here. Great. But look, if you are really, you know what, Dean, like, I'm not going to be you. It's okay. I feel like weird. Like, don't just I want to be very clear about this, because we have downline people as well that are in the EXP, like Ruth and everything. Ruth doesn't sit there all day and prospect. I know she doesn't, but that's okay. But what is her discipline? Next week, Ruth, we have a big networking event to go to, don't we? Right? Is that she's big on networking, and she just closes these massive deals. I think you closed a $4 million deal last year, right? Or something like that. Like, you have these, but that's Ruth's game.
So the more we do it, the more likely we're going to have transactions. So why not perfect that craft, get better at it? And I think coaching helps with all that, because you have somebody who knows you and can check you. I think being involved in a strong sales culture, whether that's, I came from a joke of a brokerage. We all joined Mike Ferry Coaching in 2019. And at the time, this was like when they had the East Coast retreats. I wish they would still do them, but they don't. They were offering 4-month trials, and so there were 7 or 8 of us, and we all joined. And I was the only one that stuck with it past the trial. But I couldn't think of anything else because nothing I was doing at the time was like, it was all hustle and work, which you can't coach.
And then we'll talk about what happened there. And then 2023, 42. So we went back up there. And then now for 2024, you're going to end the year at approximately around 60 deals. Is that right?
Yeah. I'm at 54 pending and sold right now for the year.
Wow, that's great. And how many listings do you have?
Active right now, I have 5, and I've got 2 incoming soon. But our market's slowing up, so you gotta keep getting new business because it's not like 2021 where every Tom, Dick, and Jane could just throw something on and it'd be under contract in a week if it was run slow. And so then it starts with like learning the script, right? Because if you don't have, that's your foundation. Learning the script. And then they say make the script you're not going to really figure out what that means unless you're doing it and working on it. Because when you're going from like wherever you're at to learning an open-ended open-ended question based script, it can feel like learning a second language, and so therefore it's not natural a lot of times. So you would hear me if I was making calls in 2020. That was my first. I joined Mike Ferry coaching, and I know we're all Mike Ferry or Steve Powers here, the end of 2019. So 2020 is my first year doing it, and if you heard me doing any of these calls, it would just was broken up, a lot of pauses, stuttering, all that stuff, because you're trying to figure and sort it out in your head. But once you get it, the questions, then it's the repetitions, and then it's becoming more natural, more flowing, and leading, not to say I'm at mastery level, but ultimately towards mastery, to where it's second nature.
Yeah, Dan, I'm wondering what three top things that you have done, or 3 things had you not done them over the last couple of years, that you believe would account for 80% of your productivity at this point in time?
That's a very analytical question. I don't know if I can break it down to I don't know if I can break it down to statistics like that, Lokan, but I think getting a coaching one, right, and sticking with it. And then showing up to work, but then the skill stuff I think is not talked about enough. Role play, but I think if you just show up to work every day and you have the Mike Ferry script book or your Steve Powers script book or whatever, if you're just doing the calls, for me, like I just learned the scripts doing that way. And then occasionally I'd like check myself and be like, okay, can I rattle off the questions, the expired script, and like just say in my head and see if I could. But like the objection handlers, that's the game. Because if you just like throw out the scripts for a second, if you just had like who, what, when, where, why, how, why very rarely, because it's a confrontational question. But I learned that from Mike Slektish. So those are the scripts, right? So if you just remember to ask those questions, you almost can't go wrong. So then it's learning the objection handlers, because those are going to be the things that separate the grown folks from the kids.
Or I would say like September, October of last year is when I kind of took my foot off the gas on the business side, meaning working with buyers, working with renters, working with sellers. I kind of was like, hey, listen, I can get away with talking with like 5 strangers a day, and I can get away with doing 4 transactions a month, and I was like, I'll be fine. I'll let that just marinate. And then by the time next year comes, I'll put it back in the full gear, and then I'll be able to go back to my old level. Well, guess what, guys? That was far off exactly what actually happened. Because when I took my foot off the gas, I literally took my foot off the gas to the point where I can't say it for the first time in my career, but for the first time in my career where I was actually producing at decent numbers, where December I didn't have any closings or any new listings. Same thing with January, same thing with February. It was like that. I just had like the things that I worked on before that were like, that I did in like August, September, July, August, that were like just closing towards the end of the year or beginning of the new year. Like I had that business that was closing, but I didn't get anything new, which was ironic. Prospecting, we're going to get you fall in love with talking to people. So now you're going to start talking to people. And but mind you guys, this is not 1 week after another. This was like 3 or 4 calls talking about health and wellness, 3 or 4 calls talking about whatchamacallit, health, what do you call it, prospecting and things like that. It was always like multiple calls to lead you to the next phase. So then the next one was like, all right, we got to make you fall in love with talking to people again. So now instead of, back in the day where I can talk between 20, 25 people and get a listing signed, he was like, no, we're going to bump up those numbers. Now I want you to be between 75 to 100 people. That's how many people I want you to talk to. But if you can sign 3 or 4 or 5 people up in that time, God, bless you. But the name of the game is he wanted me to get as many yeses as possible now. And even if the yes was so weak that like you forced it and in your gut that if you call tomorrow to get that hey, I'm calling to confirm our appointment tomorrow at 2:00, they're going to pretend that they don't even know who you are. They're going to cancel the contact. The name of the game was to get the yes to make you feel good to move on. But the second part of that is actually for you to start building confidence. So you have to call that person back and then you have to pre-qual. So the name of the game was he wanted me to cancel 5 listing appointments that I booked. There was no way. He's like, I don't care if you only booked 5. He's like, you're canceling all 5 of them because he wanted me to get in the habit of going through the pre-qual and going through each and every question and not skip a question. And if I felt that not one of the answers were to my liking, I had to cancel that appointment. Have an honest assessment with yourself, right? Because one of the key things about what my coach was doing, he would tell me, he's like, hey, you need to prospect better. Let's leave it at that. You need to prospect better. My question, well, how do I do that? He's like, well, you figure it out. And I'd be like, well, you want me to call expired? You want me to call FISBOs? You want me to call this? You want me to call that? And he would never give me the answer, like literally never give me the answer. He'd be like, well, our next coaching call, he's like, I'm sure you'll have the answer. So then I would have to sit there and I'd be like, all right, now I'm intentional with my time with actually started what happening. So I would just like, okay, well, I'm prospecting expired from 8:30 till 10. So it's an hour and a half. And I will look how many people I talked to. I talked to 3 people, 2 people today. Well, that's an hour and a half that I'm never going to get back. So now it's like, okay, if it's 45 minutes in or a half hour in, I only talk to one person, I'm going to start switching my sources a lot more quicker.
Oh yeah. So I had messaged Rich, and I think I shared with you guys actually here in the group chat that I'm having a 95% pickup rate in my follow-up calls between 6 and 9 p.m. at night. And so you guys need to start implementing night sessions. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. The people that will never pick up the phone, I speak to them once, like during the day. I'm thinking, oh, if they picked up for me randomly during the day, why wouldn't they pick up for me, let's say, at the same time? For whatever reason, they don't, because they know who you are now, let's say. And let's say you're trying to pursue them. But what I did say, and I texted everyone in my group on the WhatsApp chat on Monday, and I said, guys, I just had 9 out of 10 contacts, meaning I called 10 follow-up calls. 9 of those people picked up. When have you heard of a conversion, or let's say pickup rate in this day and age with all these call blockers literally for 90% or more? And I'm getting that between 6 and 9 p.m. And I've been generally doing that on Monday nights now, just to front load my week so that I can know what to expect throughout the week. And it's been just a killer conversion mechanism. So that is something, yes, thank you, Rich, for allowing me to explain that. But that is something that I have learned, and I would definitely encourage you guys to do that. The question I asked John this morning was, do you even like prospecting at all? Like picking up the phone and doing this, and Justine was brave enough to, which she normally is not, it's not so for her, but it's basically, she was okay to give me feedback on this. Cause she's like, you don't really like it either, Dean. I'm like, why would you like this? It doesn't make any sense. Like, why would you put yourself through the gamut of calling people that are rejecting you every single day of the week? And what I thought about this is that this activity that we do is just like any sport or any golf. You guys golf here. Okay. The reason is most of you are not going to probably like golfing if you're not good at it. If you keep shanking it in the water, keep shanking it in the sand trap, doing whatever, golf gets annoying unless you're high all the time and you're drunk or doing something else. That's a different story, right? Just per John's, what he was saying, right? So my point is, So here's my point. My point is that prospecting, I realize that I get up every morning excited about prospecting, not because of the activity itself, but because of the actual influence that I have over people that don't know me, that are willing to meet with me. For all they know, I could be a serial killer, but they actually open up the door. Like Lincoln, you're getting your 2 listings, obviously over there in Texas. It's a new market for you, and they open up the door for you to go in. I'm assuming it was by the phone. They didn't call you. So therefore, how amazing is that? So to me, I get excited about that. And I thank you for Justine for questioning me, because that's how I learn to actually prove my case, to be like, this is why I believe X and Y in terms of what we do and how we do it. So what I want you to do is connect the dots in some way to the tools that you're using in order for you to achieve your goals on your business plan that you just shared with me. And it was listings taken. Even on a buyer agent focused team, like on Zillow and everything, it was always listings taken is the leading indicator. But because you can prove there, you can show that there's going to be a sale that's going to be made there. So right there, you got listings sold, listings taken, buyer sold, landlord rented, tenant rented, referral check. If I'm missing anyone, please let me know. But those are the 6 that you have. So keep that in the back of your mind. So what is it now? Why am I bringing this up to you, really? Okay, great. Thank you, Dean, for letting us know that we can make money from all these different 6 sources, right? But as you know, I'm a why guy and I'm a context guy. So I want to go deeper on certain issues. Okay, when you're prospecting, let's say you're prospecting for a listing, you realize you can make money 5 different ways now, other than listing sales. So I want to keep that in the back of your mind when you are reaching out to people. And a lot of you that I work on your schedule, you guys have seller follow-up and seller lead generation time now. So Justine, as an example, you have it. You're going to be hitting expired, FSBO, FURBO, database, do a second round, and anything left over in your calendar, you go right to just sold. It's a lot of seller-based work, right? So what I want you to do is think 3-dimensional with your prospecting going into 2025. And that it's not just, when you hear me on the phone, it's always, I'm not just thinking of just like, let me see if I can get this listing. I'm going further. Bobby, you mentioned this to me last year, I think. You were like, I look at it like, I'm looking to get listings sold, but also what other opportunity can I get from them? And it goes back to like, okay, what can I get from this effort that I'm putting out there? So are they going to rent it? If they're not going to sell it, they want to do anything with me this year, fine. Do they have anything else that they're looking for in their portfolio that they do want to sell or buy? And then, of course, who do they know that might be looking to actually get something like this done? Or what if they are looking? So this is a case in point. This morning, actually, during the phone blast, John, I think, might have heard me because it was right here in front of him. And the guy said, I already sold the property. Like, we're good to go. I said, fantastic. That's so awesome. All right. Like, you already got the property sold. So let me ask you, just out of curiosity, where are you going to next? And sure enough, he says, I'm going to this. Have you found a place yet? No. Boom, referral. You have a referral opportunity there. Yes, it's only going to be $2,000-3,000, maybe 4,000 tops, depending upon what it is. But think about that for a second. That is going to be referral income you could be making just from making a call. So that's why dollar per hour, at least for me and maybe for Rich and some other top producers that are above 500,000 GCI in a big way, we are all doing things because I'm looking at this from a dollar per hour perspective. I'm getting paid at least close to between anywhere from 500 to $1,000 an hour. Usually is what it comes out to. But it's not just because of the listings sold that we have. So I want you guys to keep that in mind. He actually called me. He didn't reply back in the email. He called me. And he said, are you serious? He goes, can you find out who the other buyers are that lost out on that bidding war? And I did. And it turns out to be one of my agent friends in Hoboken who lives in Harborside Lofts. And we're doing the deal. Contracts are out. So the point is that the emails are designed. So I told him to do exactly that with this client. When you see another sale that happens that is similar to the price to the house, email him that number, email him that either, not the Zillow posting, because they can find the agent's information, the MLS link, do that, like put it into the body of the email and say, hey, this one just went under contract. Just wanted to bring it to your attention. Keep me posted as you are, and then follow and then end that conversation in email or text with whatever the last thing that you talked to them about was. Keep me posted on your property search. Hopefully everything's going well there.